Hello, I'm Britta Kay, and welcome to The Big Picture, a brand new video channel devoted to picture books. Now, most people think of the term picture book in a very, very confined way, that it means children's storybooks. And those are very important to me and a lot of other people who love picture books. But I believe that picture books also encompass art and photography books, magazines, graphic novels, and comics. There's a lot of other things that come under that moniker for me because we are talking about print media that involves words and pictures in concert. Most social media and video sites devoted to picture books are designed to give recommendations for children. This is not that channel. This is a channel for adults. It's for adults who love storybooks. It's for adults who miss reading Madeline and the Very Hungry Caterpillar. It's for the adults that don't miss reading them because they never stopped reading them and they never stopped collecting storybooks. It's for those people that haunt museum bookstores and use book bins for that perfect monograph. Those people who love to explore nature photography writ large on the page. It's for those people that love Superman, Spider-Man, Persepolis. If you happen to love Wonder Woman, by the way, we will be good friends. You're going to get a lot of fun storybook titles. You're going to get a lot of author illustrator profiles from the storybook world. You're going to get a survey of a lot of other kinds of titles from other kinds of picture books. And eventually, you're going to get interviews with a lot of those people from the book world, and you're going to get some awesome bookstore tours. This is definitely about the sheer joy and power of these books, but there are also a lot of interesting issues that picture books explore in a very different way than other kinds of literature do. So I'm really looking forward to getting into that. Thank you so much for tuning into my very first video. Please follow and comment and like whatever you like on here. I look forward to seeing you again soon. I look forward to opening a lot of little worlds together. And remember, the picture is always bigger. The Cat and the Rat and the Hat. Written by Em Lynas, illustrated by Matt Hunt. So you might assume that you know this story. Seems pretty simple, seems pretty reductive. Yes, and it does seem to resemble, on first glance, a certain major childhood classic, of which, by the way, I am a massive fan. This is a very different kind of book. It's an amazing read aloud. It's really something that I can recommend to literally all ages. I don't care if they're 2 or 102, they will love this book. I'm going to read a bit to you so you can get a taste for it, but I'm not going to give away all sorts of things that happen later in the book. This is the cat that sat on the mat and played on the mat and slept on the mat and dreamed on the mat. And this is the rat that had a big hat. And this is the cat that sat on the mat that saw the rat that had a big hat and said, "I want that hat." And this is the cat that chased the rat that had a big hat all over the mat. And this is the cat with the hat. And this is the rat with the hat, and this is the cat with the hat, and this is the rat with the hat, and this is the cat with the hat, and this is the rat with the hat, and this is the cat with the hat. Some other twist comes into play, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I want you to go find this book. I want you to go buy this book, find it at your library, give it a shot. Read it to each other over the dinner table, read it to each other after Netflix. Why are we always watching TV? I don't know. Okay, I finally did just start watching Sandman last night, and it's magical. That's why we watch TV. But books! Simple can be great, getting lost in perfect rhythm. The writing in this is so tight. I don't know how to explain how difficult it is to write this concisely, this precisely, this well, and with this much humor. Sometimes becoming childlike again is exactly what we need. And for the more dramatic among us, I have no idea who I'm talking about. I know no one like this. Reading this aloud is a blast. Your friends, your family will love it, especially if you read it a million times over like I did when I worked in a bookstore. Maybe they didn't like it so much. But books! Remember, the picture is always bigger. The Rabbit Listened, written and illustrated by Cori Doerrfeld. Taylor has been building something very special and then experiences unfathomable tragedy. And from here, like all of us who go through trauma, Taylor has to process what's happened. One by one, various animals come by and try to tell Taylor how to feel. We do this all the time. We try to tell other people, and then we try to tell ourselves, this is what's happened to you and this is how to feel about it. The chicken wants to talk. The bear wants to get mad. The elephant wants to remember what it looked like so they could rebuild it and fix it. My personal favorite might be the snake. And the snake says, shh, let's go knock down somebody else's. Eventually, another friend shows up. The rabbit. And the rabbit just snuggles in and sits quietly. When Taylor wants to talk, they start opening up. And eventually, through this process, which includes Taylor going through every single phase that the animals suggested, by the way, Taylor finally gets excited about the future and about building something even better. I remember the first time I picked up this book, I was extremely moved by it. I felt extremely convicted by it, and I thought, oh my gosh, every adult I know should read this book. It is a basic life skill that we need to back off of our own feelings, back off of our assumptions about what other people should feel, and just make room for them to feel whatever they feel in whatever time they do. I struggle with that all the time. I think most of us struggle with it a lot. And I think that a lot of us can relate, maybe most of us can relate to this experience that Taylor has, where everyone is trying to tell them what to feel and when to feel it. That just isn't how grief and trauma function. Grief is very real. Grief does not have a timeline. And true friends will sit with you in that grief and let you process. The author-illustrator Cori Doerrfeld has shared in the past that this was based on the experience of someone she knew, that they went through a significant tragedy, lost someone very close to them, and all of the adults in their life wanted them to feel all sorts of ways. And he retreated to his barn where he had rabbits, and the rabbits were the only people who listened and helped him process what he went through. It's a fantastic book about a skill that all of us really need to make sure we develop. And stories like this are a really important place where we can find common ground with people who have gone through similar experiences. Is there a better place to learn to listen than a book? Remember, the picture is always bigger. This is my first author-illustrator profile, and today I am talking about one of my childhood favorites, Thacher Hurd. How do I love thee, Thacher Hurd? I was a reading rainbow kid, and 2 of Thacher Hurd's books were on in the 80s. One of these books ended up becoming my favorite of his when I was about 6 or 7 years old, Mama Don't Allow. As a kid, growing up in Northern California at the time, I had no idea what the bayou was. After this book, I wanted to go there. It's a very musical story based around the old folk song, Mama don't allow no music playing around here. Mama don't allow no music playing around here. Oh, we don't care what Mama don't allow, we're gonna play that music anyhow. Mama don't allow no music playing around here. And of course, to 6-year-old me, this was a brand new song. I thought that Thacher Hurd was a genius and had made it up. Now I know that Thacher Hurd is a genius but did not make up the song. Highly recommend this book, especially for people that were way too loud as children or are adult musicians who are still way too loud. My brother's favorite Thacher Hurd story was Mystery on the Docks. This one was read on Reading Rainbow by Raul Julia, and I went back and watched it on YouTube recently. Highly recommend it. It's so good. He seems to have a thing for robberies. Mystery on the Docks, one of the main points is a robbery, and actually, same thing happens in Art Dog. I was only fortunate enough to read Art Dog as an adult. I don't know how I missed this one. Art Dog is the best. Art Dog is a book for any art lover, any museum lover, but I also think it's really intriguing, and I never noticed this until the other day. I'm pretty sure that Thacher Hurd predicted the street art movement. I mean, the resemblance is uncanny. I would be remiss if I didn't mention how Thacher Hurd influenced my artistic development. When I was in junior high, I came across the first edition of this book. It originally was published by Klutz Press. Any kids that grew up, in the late 80s into the 90s probably remember Klutz, and actually it's still a very active press today. Thacher Hurd walks you through all sorts of amazing exercises with watercolor paper with very nice watercolors. I was fortunate enough to come across this copy in New York a couple of months ago. I have been searching for it for such a long time, I kind of wanted to go through the whole thing again. Thacher Hurd is the son of 2 very famous picture book people in their own rights. His mother, Edith Thacher Hurd, wrote 70 books. His father, Clement Hurd, illustrated 50 of his mother's books, but he also illustrated a little something you might know called Goodnight Moon, and my personal favorite Margaret Wise Brown book, The Runaway Bunny. I do believe that Thacher Hurd's work, though, stands on its own regardless of legacy. Thacher Hurd just has this amazing way of taking older things, like art you find in a museum or folk songs, and making them into something new and interesting and not didactic. At least from where I sit, I think it's all meant to bring delight to future generations using things that have delighted generations in the past. And Mr. Hurd, just in case you ever see this, I just want you to know what an impact you've had on my life, both as a reader and as an artist. It's an honor to read your books, and it's such an honor to share them today. Remember, everybody, the picture is always bigger. My beloved boyfriend Mike's birthday is this weekend, and so I wanted to share one of his favorite books, or in this case, sets of books, the complete Calvin and Hobbes. This thing is massive. Calvin and Hobbes ran in newspapers between 1985 and 1995. Newspapers, those things we used to have, and it was created by Bill Waterson, one of the most exceptional comic artists of his generation. He is notoriously reclusive, rarely gives interviews, and has only published, I want to say, 5 drawings since. Calvin and Hobbes is about Calvin, a little boy with a very, very active imagination, and his best friend Hobbes, his stuffed tiger who to him is perfectly alive. I interviewed my boyfriend about why he loves Calvin and Hobbes. Number 1, he says that Calvin, while he is known for terrorizing his parents and other adults, is not a bad kid. That Calvin's main problem with adults is that they aren't doing anything joyful or fun from what he can see, and so he wants to fix the situation and he wants to fix it now. Hobbes is his voice of reason. Hobbes is sort of the adult in the room at any given time. Calvin represents a version of ourselves that doesn't settle for the everyday mundane adult world. It's so much better when he has magic in it, when he has a tiger in it. I think Hobbes represents the kind of adults we want to grow up to be. The kind that are constant companions, that never leave us, that always have fun with us, that go along with our crazy ideas even when they are the craziest of all our ideas. In a way, I think that Hobbes is one of the most magical things in the comic because Hobbes is self-love. It is the place where we say, yeah, you're okay, you're fantastic, let's go play. Are there online archives of Calvin and Hobbes? Yes, I believe you can read the entire comic online. And if you can't read it any other way, I do recommend you do that. But there is something about sitting down with a book of these and reading them on paper. That is the way that Bill Waterson has passionately put his work out to the world this entire time. Not even a piece of merchandise, just the pictures on the literal physical page. My boyfriend told me he has read every single strip in the Calvin and Hobbes series at least 5 or 6 times. And so every time he opens one of these books, every page will make him smile. It's one of the great beauties of a physical picture book, where you slow down, open an actual object, and let yourself light up. Happy birthday, sweetie. I love you so much. Just remember, guys, the picture is always bigger. And in this case, very, very big. What? Of course I have my own Hobbes. Who'd you think you were talking to?